You wake up, the alarm goes off, and instead of feeling rested, you feel nothing. Not tired exactly, just empty. Like you've been running on fumes for so long, you've forgotten what a full tank even feels like. So you Google it. Am I burned out? And you get a quiz with 15 questions and a result that says, you may be experiencing some symptoms of stress. Super helpful. Here's the thing, burnout isn't just being tired. It's not needing a vacation. It's a specific psychological state with real neurological underpinnings. And if you confuse it with regular fatigue, you'll keep trying to fix it with the wrong tools. Today, we're going to break down what burnout actually is, what's happening in your brain when you're burned out, and most importantly, how to tell the difference between burnout and just being exhausted. What burnout actually is. The term burnout was coined in the 1970s by psychologist Herbert Freudenberger. He noticed a pattern among high-achieving, highly dedicated workers, doctors, nurses, social workers, who seemed to just collapse, not physically, psychologically. In 2019, the World Health Organization officially classified burnout as an occupational phenomenon, specifically tied to chronic, unmanaged workplace stress. But modern psychology has expanded that definition. You can burn out from caregiving, from relationships, from creative work, from being a student. The WHO identifies 3 core dimensions of burnout. 1, exhaustion. Not just tiredness, but a profound depletion of emotional and mental energy. You feel drained before the day even starts. 2, cynicism or detachment. You start to distance yourself emotionally from your work, your responsibilities, or the people you once cared about. Things that used to matter stop mattering. You go through the motions. 3, reduced efficacy. You stop believing you're capable or effective. You feel like nothing you do actually makes a difference. Productivity tanks, not because you're lazy, but because your brain has essentially gone offline. Notice something important. Plain tiredness doesn't hit all 3 of those. You can be exhausted without being cynical. You can be overwhelmed without feeling worthless. That's the key distinction we'll come back to. What's happening in your brain? Let's talk about what's actually happening under the hood, because the neuroscience here is fascinating. When you're under chronic stress, your brain is flooded with cortisol, the stress hormone. In short bursts, cortisol is useful. It sharpens focus, mobilizes energy, keeps you alert. That's normal. But when cortisol stays elevated for weeks or months, it starts to damage the brain. Research has shown that burnout is associated with reduced gray matter density in the prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for decision-making, emotional regulation, and rational thinking. Basically, burnout literally shrinks the part of your brain you need most to deal with problems. It also hyperactivates the amygdala, your brain's threat detection center. So you become more reactive, more anxious, more easily overwhelmed by things that previously felt manageable. And here's the really cruel part. Burnout impairs your ability to rest. Even when you do sleep or take a break, your nervous system stays in a low-level state of alert. The rest doesn't register the same way. You wake up tired. A weekend off doesn't fix it. This is biologically different from regular fatigue. Normal tiredness resolves with sleep. Burnout doesn't because it's not a sleep problem. It's a nervous system problem. Burnout versus just being tired, the 5 signs. Okay, here's what you actually came for. 5 ways to tell burnout apart from regular exhaustion. Sign 1, number rest doesn't restore you. When you're just tired, sleep works. A good night's rest, a slow weekend, a vacation, you come back feeling better. If you've had adequate rest and you still feel depleted, that's a red flag. Burnout creates a disconnect between rest and recovery. Sign number 2, you feel emotionally flat, not just drained. Tiredness makes things feel hard. Burnout makes things feel pointless. If you notice that you've lost the ability to feel excited, interested, or even upset about things that used to matter to you, that emotional flatness is a burnout signature, not just fatigue. Sign 3, number small tasks feel insurmountable. When you're tired, big tasks are hard. When you're burned out, everything is hard. Replying to a text, making a decision about what to eat, starting a task you've done 100 times. The cognitive load of ordinary life suddenly becomes unbearable. That's the prefrontal cortex struggling to function. Sign number 4, you feel detached from your own identity. This one is subtle but important. Burnout often creates a kind of depersonalization, a sense of watching your life from a distance, going through the motions, not feeling like yourself. People describe it as, "I used to love this, now I don't feel anything about it." Tiredness doesn't do that. Sign number 5, your body starts signaling the problem. Burnout has physical symptoms that regular tiredness doesn't typically produce at the same intensity. Frequent headaches, digestive issues, lowered immunity, getting sick more often, disrupted sleep, muscle tension. Your body is running in an emergency state for so long that systems start breaking down. If you recognize 3 or more of these, this is worth taking seriously. What to actually do? Here's where I want to be honest with you. I'm not going to tell you to download a meditation app and take more bubble baths. Burnout is a systemic problem, and it often requires structural change, not just self-care sprinkled on top of an unsustainable lifestyle. That said, there are things that genuinely help at the neurological level. First, remove the source, not just the symptoms. If your work environment, relationship, or situation is chronically draining, strategies that don't address that are just band-aids. A hard conversation, a boundary, a change, that's often the real medicine. Second, allow genuine recovery, not performed recovery. Scrolling your phone isn't rest. True recovery involves what researchers call psychological detachment, genuinely mentally disengaging from the stressor. Nature, movement, sleep, time with people you actually like. Third, talk to someone. A therapist, a doctor. Burnout that's gone deep enough to affect your neurology isn't always something you can think or willpower your way out of. There's no shame in needing support to recalibrate. Fourth, rebuild meaning in small pieces. Research on burnout recovery shows that a sense of control and small wins are critical to restoring efficacy. You don't need to overhaul your life. You need to find one thing that feels meaningful and actually do it. The difference between tired and burned out matters because the solution is completely different. One you sleep off. The other you have to actually address. If this video helped you name what you're experiencing, that's the first step. Naming it gives you power over it. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next one.